In the wake of back-to-back mass shootings, Congress is under increasing pressure to act. Assault weapons bans, expanded background checks, red flag laws, all under discussion on both sides of the aisle. But New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, a 2020 presidential candidate, says the latter is far from enough.
Red flag laws, yes, they're important, but they're nowhere near enough to stop these rising levels of mass shootings. Now, the American public should demand more. And frankly, things like background checks are overwhelmingly supported by gun owners. The fact that we're not doing that is a failure of leadership.
Here now to talk about all this and more, Senator Lindsey Graham, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who's getting ready to introduce bipartisan legislation to encourage more states to pass those red flag laws. Chairman Graham, always good to see you. Thank you very much for being here tonight. You know, I mean, as always, the question here is there the support for it? We go through these moments in this country and everyone is devastated. And then the question, what can you do? You were with the president over the weekend and you have a good handle on your fellow senators. Is there the will to pass red flag laws?
I think there's a determination by the president to act this time to create a grant program at the federal level to help local law enforcement to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. The proposal I've got with Senator Blumenthal would create a federal grant program requiring due process at the state level so that local police officers could hire mental health professionals to advise them on what cases they would take to a judge. And the only time you can have a protective order is a hearing with a judge with robust due process. But I've never seen the president this determined, quite frankly. I think he's determined to do two things: to make sure that people who are suffering mental health problems, who are dangerous and to themselves and others, that we act before they use the gun, and that we enhance background checks in a way that makes common sense. I think there's bipartisan support for this. My question is, will the Democrats be willing to work with the president, or will they keep moving the goalpost? I don't know. Okay, well, those are obviously both important and both kind of two separate things. The legal pushback to this red flag proposal has come from Judge Napolitano here at Fox, and also from Bob Barr, the former member of Congress, who says that it violates the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure, and also the 14th Amendment for due process. They're saying, how can you take away someone's gun on the good, solid hunch by psychiatrists that they might do something terrible with it? So I think they're both dead wrong, quite frankly.
Tell me why.
They're both libertarians. They don't believe that you can put somebody in jail who's a member of Al-Qaeda. I like them both, but let me tell you this: the Parkland shooting. 40 visits by the cops to Cruz's house, a FBI hotline tip that he's about ready to go to school and shoot people up, social media postings. There are plenty of judicial proceedings every day in America where somebody is adjudged to be a danger to themselves and others, and they're put in a mental health facility. That goes on all the time. So that process would apply to gun ownership. Nobody's going to lose their gun unless they have their day in court, but we're not going to create a situation where the cops sit on the sidelines and watch somebody blow up when there are plenty warning signs. The Second Amendment is not a suicide pact. So we have judicial hearings all over America every day dealing with people who've become a danger to themselves and others, and this is just an extension of that concept.
So you believe that the president would sign this bill?
I believe the president is determined to do something to empower cops to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. If you got a rape list and a kill list and they shut the whole school down because you're nuts, maybe you shouldn't buy a gun.
But then what do they do, Senator? Then they go to your house, they knock on the door, they say, you know, we're going to search and see if you have any guns here. Is that, I mean, you know, in a practical matter, how does it work?
You got to get an order from the judge first. You can't go to the guy's house until the judge says there's an immediate threat. You have to convince a judge that there's an imminent threat of death or bodily harm before you can act. Then within 7 days, you have a full-blown hearing where you have to prove by clear and convincing evidence the person is a danger to themselves or others. We have hearings all over America adjudicating people to be a danger to themselves and others to get them help.
I hear you, but I mean, you know, the NRA and, you know, folks like Judge Napolitano, they don't touch my gun. You know, I mean, that's what they're going to say. And so can it pass? Can it pass the Senate?
Yes, I think it has to pass. There's 17 or 18 states with these laws. So I would just tell Judge Napolitano, there are hearings every day about people who've been adjudicated to be a danger to themselves or others. It happens every day. And here's the question. Do we have to sit on the sidelines and watch people be slaughtered when we know this person is about to blow?
No,
when the
look,
cops go 40 times?
Everybody in this country doesn't want to see what we watched happen last weekend.
Well,
and everybody wants people to do something. You know what? I think there's a lot of momentum for that, and I'm going to be watching really closely to see if you can get it across the finish line. One last thought, increasing activity by the Taliban. ISIS appears to be reemerging. You're with the president. He has said quite clearly that he wants to pull basically out of Afghanistan, leave some sort of police force there. Did you convince him otherwise this weekend?
Well, here's what I would ask him to do. Take good, sound military advice, unlike President Obama, who ignored sound military advice. Listen to General Petraeus, General King, General Dunford. Listen to your national security experts. If we leave Afghanistan without a counterterrorism force, without intelligence gathering capability, ISIS will reemerge, Al-Qaeda will come back, they will occupy safe havens in Afghanistan, they will hit the homeland, they will come after us all over the world. And to prevent that, you need a meaningful counterterrorism force. There will be no good deal to end the war in Afghanistan if you don't deal with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. We need a continuing U.S. presence. They're not policemen. They're protecting our homeland. If we'd had American troops on the ground, there would have been no 9/11. The Afghan people reject the Taliban, but I hope we can get the Taliban back into Afghan society honorably, that women don't get brutalized. We can end this war, Mr. President. You're right to want to end it, but you'll never get Al-Qaeda and ISIS at the peace table. They don't want peace. So let's have a residual force. Let's be smart. Let's don't do in Afghanistan what Obama did in Iraq.
Well, the president said we're serving as policemen. We could win Afghanistan in 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, but I'm not looking to kill 10 million people.
Nor am I, and we're not policemen. Every soldier who's dying in Afghanistan is protecting our homeland. This is where 9/11 originated. It originated in Afghanistan because the Taliban invited Al-Qaeda in to be their honored guests. Let's don't repeat this mistake twice. The good news, we can protect America and our interests with a very small force compared to what we've had in the past.
I hear you. Unfortunately, we're still losing servicemen there, and we will see where the next steps lead.
They're defending all of us when they fight over there.
Absolutely. And we thank them for their sacrifice. Enormous. Senator, thank you. Always good to see you, sir.